Hey, so I added a skin modifier and then added a subdivision modifier to kind of give it this smooth feel. So I extruded it out and duplicated it to get the head and then worked on the other one to get the body duplicated for the hand. And then added the mirror modifier and then duplicated it for the leg to kind of get the leg. So I adjusted to make it fit okay. And then I reduced the size a little, generally all of them. So I duplicated the leg to kind of get the foot. Okay, so I adjusted the body and then the body was kind of feeling protruded, so I had to make it flat. So I just said the hand now and then the hand joint, so it joins with the body, and then started making the legs kind of a little bend. It's a leg is standing, so we don't start that much straight. Okay, so I did this is my base mesh actually, so we are still gonna sculpt this to make it look like a human. Okay, so I duplicated the head to give the neck now, and then I adjusted the neck to kind of look perfect. So I resized it again because it was kind of getting tall as I added the legs. So I started working on the head to give him that kind of head shape and then make him look handsome. Okay, it was a guy actually. So started with the back of the head, that's the skull, the back skull. I started giving some curves now. So I used the insert to insect in the whole face to kind of get this eye socket, and then I used the grab brush to grab down to kind of give his eye socket some curves to make him look handsome like I said earlier. So I use the insert to insect inside here now to kind of get this eyebrow shape. Okay, so I use the insert again to give it these sharp edges. I use it most often when sculpting the mouth and the eyes. That is when you need them very well because they kind of give you that sharp edges and those curves you're going to be needing, and those patterns you're going to be needing also in the eyes and the mouth. Okay, so that was the two tools, and then the grab brush tool to grab some places to make and adjust. So I was still adjusting the eyes. It was kind of not looking okay as I was adjusting, but then I had to adjust and bring it down okay to kind of make him look great. So I added the eyes now. So when working on meshes, make sure you work with symmetry. Okay, make sure you work with symmetry. It's important. You can use shift X, sorry, or else to kind of add or align your vertex to the grid. So to make sure it's perfect with symmetry. You see what it did to me here. Here was kind of out and the other side wasn't out. So I had to off the symmetry and started working on the other side differently. So I was working on them individually, and it was kind of to affect your whole sculpting because it's not symmetrized. So make sure you work with symmetry, make sure it's aligned, it's at the center, make sure everything is perfect. So the symmetry is 100% okay. It's not going to be 100%, at least 99%. So I use the crease brush tool to kind of get these sharp curves also on his eyes. You see, now I'm working on them individually instead of what I was supposed to be working on the other side, and it's going to be replicating on the other one. So that is it. Pay attention. So I use the layer brush to kind of add a layer to the nose and then started grabbing and then adjusting. The nose was seamless. Didn't take me that much of a time because I was very fast on that. So I used the layer on the mouth also and then smoothing this. Once you add the layer, you have to smooth it now because it looks rubbish once you just add it. So I smoothed it and then use the inflate to inflate out and then carve and then grab brush to grab some places and then give his mouth that kind of a V inset at the center, and then this kind of inset here and our lip there. So to kind of look okay, and then I adjusted the mouth and then I used the snake hook brush to kind of hook at the ear, but that wasn't perfect. I think for me, next time if I'm gonna be doing it, I think I'll use the layer brush to add a layer there, a mesh layer, and then start sculpting because using the snake hook kind of made the pull look hard because it was stretched too much. So we kind of want to sculpt the inside there. It was kind of looking really hard, so it wasn't flexible as a poly. That means there wasn't much faces there. So if I had added the layer, it would have been better. So the ear took me more. It took me much time though. Ear took me a lot of time, but then it was kind of awesome. And then the problem of the symmetry again occurred on the ear because the symmetry was not perfect. So what I was sculpting on the other ear, no, this ear wasn't reflecting on the other ear because of what it was reflecting, but it was not perfect. So what I was sculpting here was different from what it was sculpting on the other side, even though the symmetry was odd. So make sure you pay attention to your symmetry. Make sure it's perfect. Even at the start, if you notice any mistake, you could Control Z, go back, start afresh to make sure the symmetry is okay. Okay, so that was it for the ear. I finished it up, and then I started meshing, filling in there the necks, all those joints to make them feel perfect. So it wasn't okay for me. So I had to just remove the body because I can't continue with the body. Why? If you add meshes and join them, and then you are using the multi-res modifier and you want to join with the sculpting mode, if you're sculpting and use smooth to kind of smoothen the places you join, it's not going to smoothen them, it's going to still have them as edges because of what? They are actually not meshed together, they are just joined. So you could probably apply the multi-res modifier and then remesh before they can all join together, enhance the body that you join differently. So you can start sculpting them and all of them is going to smoothen it together. So I added the plane now and then use the shrink wrap to wrap it on the head to get the cap. So I wrapped it on the head and started extruding it. But then I think what is perfect is the poly building tool. I used it recently and it was great. Instead of adding the plane and then extruding out with the shrink wrap and then snapping turned on, so it could be snapping on the head and then you're dragging and extruding out, adjusting to get whatever shape you're looking for. Using the poly build is also perfect. The poly build is in the edit panel there, all the two stations. Look that you're going to see the poly build. It's more like extruding out, but then it's different because you are working more with vertices than with faces, okay? And it's good. So you could try that out. So I used the extrude. I've started extruding the faces and the vertices to make them look okay until I'm satisfied. So it was a cap we're trying to create. So there's gonna be a lot of mesh adjustment to kind of get that round cap shape that's gonna cover his ear. You see, his ear wasn't covered yet, so I will have to adjust and adjust. So I was dragging the vertices that needs to be dragged to kind of get this kind of straight line to join them together. So I was kind of almost there because it was looking okay now. So joined and joined and joined and joined, and this was looking great. It was looking great. It was looking great. So I applied the shrink wrap modifier and then I added the solidify modifier, and then this was what I got. It wasn't perfect because of what, after all the whole thing, it was not perfect. I didn't adjust some places, I didn't mesh some places. But what I did was I applied all the modifiers, then I then added the remesh modifier. But then the remesh wasn't much remesh, like around 1.1. So the faces were still low poly. So I applied it now, he joined everything. So I could start meshing, sculpting them again, and it was looking okay. So you could try that out. So then I used the inset brush to, and then and then inflated in there inward, and then added the inflate again to inflate outward there on the cap there to make the cap look kind of bulky. And then I used the grab brush to grab some places, and then mostly the grab, the inflate, and then the crease brush to kind of get this sharp crease on the cap. It was kind of, the cap was seamless though, it didn't take much of my time. And then I went over with the same plane and then snap on the body, so it snaps to get the clothes. He was kind of wearing a shirt, so I wanted to add a shirt to him. It wasn't like he was wearing a shirt, but I added the shirt, not the reference I used. I was not wearing shirt, so I used a lot of reference on this model. I used 3 reference on the model. That was why it was complicating for me. So the model, different models I had to join together to get the reference. So I used the insert brush, kind of insert inside here now, and then use the crease brush to get sharp edges. Most times you have to use the insert and then insert, use the crease to kind of bring it together. The crease can bring it together if you are using the control for the crease, that's the inverse of the crease brush. Okay, so I sculpted the column of the shirt there, and then it wasn't perfect though, but I had to add some rumple to it. But then I was satisfied with this, okay, because it was looking great. So then I added the a box and then divided the center, added the subdivision on the center, like I divided the center, and then added some control R on the center again to kind of get the center middle there, and then applied it, as started sculpting to get the tie. I added subdivision also to give more faces, because if I had applied, I started sculpting with just the brush, it's not going to be okay. So I sculpted this column there on the tie, the middle there, to make it look great. So this was it. I was kind of looking okay, so I had to do minor adjustments and it was great. So next was on painting. Texture painting wasn't that it wasn't that seamless, because after all this painting I lost it, and it was very sad, really really sad. So but then it was great because that was my first time of using texture paint. I usually paint from the sculpting mode, but then it was cool because it gave me space to paint a lot of stuff. So after the painting, this was the result. The lighting was Okay, yeah, yeah, two setup, and then a lighting at the back to kind of brighten up the background, and then left lighting was stronger than the right lighting, but then it was a bright yellow light, and the other one was a blue light, and then it was kind of soft blue, okay, to kind of give him that childhood vibrant look. Okay, so it was okay. I was very, very okay with my result. So this is it. Thanks for watching this awesome tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell button and the notification button to get notified whenever I drop an awesome content like this.